So welcome back, everybody. We are here with Stephanie today from Virginia. So Stephanie, go ahead and introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about what inspired you to become a dietitian.
Hi, so I'm Stefanie Dove, and I live in Virginia outside of Washington, D.C., and I have the unique role of being the marketing coordinator of school nutrition for the third largest district in Virginia. And so basically, I get to spend my days in the school gardens with kids, harvesting lettuce, talking to them about eating the rainbow, tweeting about it, making videos, doing staff development and training. So I kind of get to do everything that I love about nutrition. What I wanted to do and what really inspired me to go into nutrition was working in fashion in New York City. That was my first career, and I volunteered at the food bank of New York, and I was helping do some food frequency surveys, and all of these kids had no idea where apples grew. They had no idea they came from a tree. Some had never tried a strawberry. They couldn't recognize an apple. And I was just like, I really want to help kids understand where their food comes from and why it's important and encourage them to try it. So this position was the first of its kind. And it just so happened it was made public right when I was finishing up my dietetic internship. So I applied, and 3 years later, here I am.
Wow, that's a really unique way to kind of come into where you're at, and that's so cool that you were able to jump right into that role that you kind of almost had in mind.
Yeah, it really was. When I was doing my undergrad in nutrition, everyone's sitting there, I want to do clinical and I want to focus on this. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I might cry if I have to do clinical, because that's just not my mindset. And it takes a special kind of dietitian and personality to really do a solid clinical role. And I knew that wasn't for me. So I had always said, oh, I want to blog and tweet as a dietitian. And that's what I wanted to do. And everyone was like, good luck with that. And now my friends are like, oh my gosh, Steph, we can't believe you actually did it. That's so crazy.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's just another example of there's so many options out there for dietitians. And so if clinical is not your thing, like don't sweat it. There are other things out there.
It really is. And I love talking to dietitians and dietetic interns about opportunities in school nutrition, because my role is a role that more districts across the country are hiring, down to they have directors of marketing for their school nutrition programs and nutrition education coordinators, farm to school coordinators, salad bar coordinators. So there are so many roles for RDs in school nutrition that aren't just, a lot of times when you think of food service, you think of the lunch lady in school nutrition, or you think that you're cooking all day. And I do some recipe videos and development, but I don't spend my time in the kitchen. So if that's not really your thing and you want to do something else, there's so many options.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit about your career then in nutrition. Have you been in this role? Has it kind of evolved since you've been in it, or what does it look like for you?
So yeah, when I started, because it was a brand new position of its kind in any school district, and I came in, and of course you have like a job description, but I kind of got to create my job. Like I had certain tasks such as establish a social media presence. Okay, check. There were no guidelines or parameters of what I could do, and I knew farm to school and school gardens. That's just kind of my baby. I grew up on a farm, so it kind of goes back to kids understanding where their food comes from and how it grows. So for me, what I did was I took charge and developed a comprehensive school garden program for our district. And I've worked with our teachers to develop school gardens. So in the 3 years, we went from having 12 gardens to 71. So for me, like that's my goal is, in our district, we have this theme called the Vision 2020 of like, here's our vision for the district. So I joke with our superintendent all of the time and tell him my vision for 2020 is that every school, so we'll have 93 next year, all schools will have a garden by 2020. So that's my goal.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. And I can kind of relate too, because I actually grew up on a farm. My family farmed, and It is. It's such a cool thing to be able to kind of make those connections for kids if they don't really have that knowledge or aren't really exposed to that.
Exactly. And I think and even here in Loudoun, a lot of people know Loudoun because it's always in the news as being the most affluent county in the nation. And even here in Loudoun and some of our more affluent neighborhoods, kids had no idea that apples grow on trees here, just like they had no idea in New York. And so it just goes to show that there's just a severe need for nutrition education in the schools. And that's what, if you haven't seen the new position paper that just came out this week on the importance of nutrition educations in the schools, Dale Hayes worked on that, and Lynette Dobson did as well. And it was a joint effort by the Academy and School Nutrition Association. And it's basically just saying like that there's a need for dietitians in the schools in all capacities. And it's just another alternative career path for an RD.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely so much opportunity there for sure. So what excites you then most about your work in nutrition?
I think what excites me the most is I've been able, over the past 3 years, I've been fortunate enough to speak at local, state, and national conferences to school nutrition professionals across the country, and being able to empower them to take on marketing their programs, because there's a lot of negative press about school meals out there. And a lot of it is simply just not true. And it overshadows the wonderful things that are going on. And so I love talking to programs and directors and managers about the importance of sharing your story, because if you don't share it, someone else will, and they may not share the full story. And so for me, it's so exciting several months later to have districts tweet at me or tag me on Instagram, and they're like, look what we did. We set up a Twitter account. Here's our first tweet. We're so excited. And so those things that we take for granted, there are a lot of districts who have never dabbled in social media, but they're doing wonderful things. And today is actually School Lunch Superhero Day. So if you look up that hashtag, you'll see some of the amazing things that are going on across the country.
Yeah, definitely. So this will come out a little bit after today, but we'll have to link that hashtag. I think you can still probably pull up some of those images.
Yeah,
for sure.
You can definitely pull them up. Or what I always tell people, one of the best people to follow on social media to get an idea of what's going on in school districts is Dale Hayes, who I would hope that most RDs know who she is by now. And if you don't, shame on you. I'm a little biased. I mean, she took me under her wing from me being a new dietitian, like maybe 5 months as being an RD, and took me under her wing. And she's just been phenomenal about highlighting what's going on. So follow her on School Meals That Rock, and you can see why the title of all of her pages is School Meals That Rock, because they're just amazing.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So we'll link all that down below so you guys can check it out too. Cool. Well, if somebody is thinking about becoming a dietitian, what would be kind of your first line of advice for them?
My first line of advice would be, don't necessarily go with what you thought you were always going to plan to do. So I had planned, I'm only applying to New York City internships. I'm going to do this. I was like, I think I'm going to do like community nutrition and then have my blog on the side. And I did not get matched the first round. I ended up getting matched the second round into a distance internship, which happened to be the best thing that could have happened, because I got to plan my rotations, and that's how I landed my rotation in school nutrition, with a preceptor who basically let me do what I was doing now for 6 weeks. And I was like, this is awesome. I want to do this as my job. And so I always tell my interns who come in, because I precept anywhere from 6 to 8 a year, and I always tell them, like, think outside of the box. Like, it's okay, like, if you don't get matched the first round, like, it's fine. Like, sometimes life has its interesting ways of working out. And truly, I don't think I would be in this sector of nutrition had I been matched to the first round of my internship.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really solid advice. And I think it is important to be, flexible and open to the possibilities because you're right. There's just so much that's out there and you can't really know for sure. Or most people probably don't really know for sure like what your career is going to hold.
Yeah, and I think it's also I had an intern this term, and she wants to do marketing and social media, and she's like, and I see all these dietitians who have like 100,000 followers and all of this, and I was like, you realize they've worked very hard, and a lot of them had a full-time job and then built that up before they transitioned to that being their full-time job. And so I think sometimes there's this I don't know, I think sometimes people just think that, oh, you just start tweeting and taking photos of what you eat and it happens like that. And it's like, no, it takes a lot of work, dedication, and a lot of time after your full-time job. So you essentially have two full-time jobs to try to get that up and running.
Yeah, no, for sure, definitely. Well, this wasn't one of the questions we discussed, but I think it might be helpful for like students or interns who do want to go down like a marketing or something route. What would you have any specific advice for them thinking about
I would I think especially for marketing and social media, I think the best thing to do, especially if you're interested in doing it for like a school, just reach out to the school nutrition director in your community. And when I say reach out, don't reach out and say, well, I think your photos look terrible and I think I could help you improve them, because I have had emails like that come in where it's like, or bashing the program and things. It's, when in doubt, just approach it like you would a job interview and just say, you know what, I'd love to get experience. I would love to learn more about your program. I tell all dietitians, I would encourage them to schedule an interview with their directors, whether you're interested in school nutrition or not. And I think that's just important. And obviously, if you want to get into marketing and social media, you need to have a presence on social media. So you don't have to be on every channel, but you have to be on at least 1 to 2 channels. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for an employer to take you seriously. I know when I have interns who apply to intern with me and they say that they're interested in marketing, the first thing I do is Google them. And if I can't find you via a Google search, it makes me wonder like how well you really are at marketing. And that's just my personal thing, but I think that you have to have some sort of presence.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree. And that's really solid advice. Thank you for that. And definitely if you're a student or intern, it's a good time to kind of even just test out the waters and set up some social media accounts and see, what kind of content feels natural. It's a good time to try it out for sure.
Yeah, and I think right now in a lot of the dietetic associations, like the local dietetic associations, I know for my end, I'm working with 2 students now, and I'm going to meet with them in 2 weeks and help them. They're going to start tweeting out for us and help us get social media, and it helps build up some work experience, volunteer experience, a portfolio. So that's one thing that I always tell interns. I know when I was doing my undergrad in nutrition, I took every free gig I could get just to have stuff to put in a portfolio or to have a presence. So anything that you can do, even if it seems so small, you still have something.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Cool. Well, tell us a little bit more about where we can find you on social media and then any other like projects or things you want us to know about.
So on social media, I am on Instagram at Stefanie Dove with an F. So we were talking about like the fact, that's another thing. Make sure if you're emailing someone to spell their name correctly. I will delete
Yes.
an email from someone interested in working with me or interning with me if they spell my name incorrectly. So make sure of that. I'm on Instagram at Stefanie Dove and Twitter at Stefanie Dove RDN. And I've recently have some projects coming up. So you've had Libby on here a few weeks ago, I think. So I was on a chat with her about a month ago. And so she's inspired me to dabble into the podcast realm. So that's my project I'm going to dabble in this summer when I have a business hiatus. So excited to get that up and running.
Oh, wow, that's really exciting. What's your podcast going to be focused on?
It's going to really be focused on school nutrition marketing because I think it's a unique area, and I really believe that more RDs need to be in that realm because we have the credentials behind us to back up like whatever we're talking about. If we're saying, broccoli is good for you because of X, Y, and Z, like having an RD sign off on that, we know we're not just Googling and seeing what Wikipedia said about it. We know that it's sound scientific evidence-based practice, and I really just want to get more RDs in schools. So that's my big push.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. And like we were kind of talking about even before the interview, my internship, a lot of it was focused on school food service. So I definitely have a soft spot, and I totally agree. More RDs need to be in the schools and kind of have their hands all over the programs. And yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And, I think there's so much that's going on in schools, and there are some districts who have 6 or 7 RDs on staff. So the possibilities are endless.
Yes, definitely. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thanks for sharing all of this wonderful information with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was so excited.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we will see you guys next time.
All right. Bye.
Next week on Dial a Dietitian.
I was not on a track to be a registered dietitian or have a PhD in physical activity, nutrition, and wellness. So it's kind of interesting how I ended up here. I used to be a mortgage broker a long time ago, and I had started my bachelor's degree, and I wasn't really